This is QTV This Morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde and I'm with Julden Jai and Mr. Ade Drame. Yeah, so now let's move on to the newspaper review segment. 1.7 billion Diploma Twin Towers officially open. I mean, Julde.
The one at Cameroon.
Yes, making the Gambia infrastructure look good. Yeah. You know, when I saw it the other time when it opened, people celebrate a lot. And I was, okay, this is the first time probably Gambia is having such a thing. But in other countries, you have thousands and thousands of those, Julde. You traveled to China. You went to Brazil. Yeah. You've seen a lot of things all over the world. You know, so what, I mean, this will increase, I mean, the way people look at our country.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a strategic location.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, once you're there, you feel like you're in mini Dubai because of how the structure is being built and everything.
Absolutely.
Development starts with infrastructure, no doubt about that. The reason why a lot of people are so eager to travel is because not only to find better opportunities because of also the developmental aspirations that they've seen in those countries. So it starts there, you know, with structures like this, and hopefully if we have many of these and where a lot of jobs are created for young people, it will really help our, you know, human capital development, which is very important because Gambia is a youthful population.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Adedrame.
I have to take issue with this. Why are we creating jobs just for young people? Just create jobs. What about us older people? What's wrong with us, Julde?
Well,
hey.
Well, I think old people. I think now it's high time for old people to take the back break.
But Julde is right. A lot of these things, kind of infrastructural things, because you know, when a lot of our colleagues have gone to China, they've come back and they've started comparing us to China. I get really annoyed, but we're not at that level yet. But nonetheless, this is a private sector investment. And the president was there, our CEO was there as well, Mohamed Jah was also there. And it's a sign of things. I have to be honest, I used to drive by and I would see people posing in front of the structure, taking pictures and selfies. Obviously, it is obviously people had already kind of tapped into this. This is a really nice sort of development. But the thing that surprised me, because apparently most of the flats and the apartments have been sold. We're not used to that yet in the Gambia. Yeah. Although a lot of Gambians who are in the diaspora, those are the kind of places they live in. And I never thought, because here we're used to compounds, you know.
Compound, 20 by 20, 25 by 30, that's
30 by 30, that sort of thing. Yeah. So this is a slightly different thing. And if you go there and you see, they've got a fantastic view of the stadium, by the way. If you have your binoculars, you won't even have to pay to go and watch games at the stadium. You can just look straight into the Independence Stadium. So it's Julia also says, very strategic location. And it's a lovely building. I mean, you know, I didn't go in, but our colleagues who went in, Mamnabu and Korka, they were really impressed with the finishing and everything else. They said, you know, it's been built to a very high standard. So yeah.
Got an underground parking.
But so do we here at Q Group. You know, we also have underground parking. You know.
So I mean, it's really amazing, and I think many people will follow suit. Many investors will also look down the line to invest in such kind of structures. I mean, you talked about Gambia. We are not very used to such kind of structures. Probably, you know, due to the nature or the geographical nature of our land. We have enough land here. If you travel to countries like Spain, I mean, for those of you that knows the Europe very well, you can see how people don't buy bigger lands. What they do, they build
up.
On, you know,
yeah,
up, yes.
I mean, here you say we have enough land, but if everybody wants to live in a particular area, it becomes congested, and then land becomes at a premium, and so inevitably we will start building up, because you can't really build what we're talking about, this kind of with the compounds and so on. For example, where I live, huge compound. If you were to try and get that amount of space to build a family compound in Kanifing, you're not going to get it. It's either going to be very expensive, or the land simply isn't there. And so more and more people might start building up. We have some of these that are built like that one, where it's it's an apartment that people come and they rent for short term. But these ones will be places where people will live, families will live and so on. And I think that's, one of the differences. And you're right, it could inspire others to say, oh, they've done it, perhaps we can do it too. So yeah.
So talking about infrastructure, the master of roads, the master of electricity, President Adama Barrow, lays foundation.
Is that his new title?
Foundation stone for 75.7 kilometer feeder road in NBR.
North Bank region.
One thing about him,
yes,
he is busy building roads. And he's connecting the country. Yeah. Now from my area to Brikama, you don't need to use the main highway. We have our feeder routes that we can use and access Brikama easily.
Yeah, it's finished?
It's finished.
It's
now you can go through Makumbaya to Brikama.
Okay.
It's easier.
Yeah. And I think also what we should point out about this specific one is that these roads are roads that are linking mainly agricultural communities.
Yes.
And so when people say, oh, roads don't feed us and so on, but if you have your product or your produce and you want to get it to market and the roads to market are poor, then that restricts the speed with which you get it there and also the frequency.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, roads don't feed us, but trust me, they very necessary. We go to other countries and we admire their roads. And then when we're building roads here, we're like, it's like, come on, you can't have it both ways. You can't go to other countries and say, oh, look at how connected they are. And then when we're trying to connect, you're being very dismissive about it. No, it's vital.
Well, you see, Julde, people, most people talked about Adam Barrow focusing more on roads and, other projects than the livelihood of the people of this country. But I think roads and other infrastructure, they are all part of the livelihoods of the people.
Yeah.
For a long time, there are many people that have been left behind, especially the villages. If you go to Julde's village now, they are enjoying electricity.
Julde's village?
Julde's village?
No way, Julde. Tell him it's not true.
You access electricity all over, all those areas. There was a guy that said to me the other time, a friend of mine, he lives in Sare Dembatoro by the name Draman Damfa. He said to me, Balde, now if you come to our place, we don't envy Serekunda now.
Right.
And he lives deep in Basek.
Because they have
and he said we have electricity. So you can see, sometimes these are the things that the people want. You understand? We want a leadership that when you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
That's where
sometimes you get led into politics even when you don't want to, because there are other things where somebody, for example, in one of the headlines, they're criticizing the State of the Nation address, saying it's just a list of promises and statistics. You can say that, but if you have somebody who's an incumbent, the president, and that person wants to stand again, and you are coming as an opposition, what are you going to offer that's different or better? The people you just mentioned, they've got electricity they didn't have before. What are you going to promise them and say, well, you're going to give them what? Skyscrapers, whatever. The president can point to his record. You can make wild promises. You probably don't even have to bother to cost them. But that's what you have to challenge if you want to get people to vote for you, to say, oh, well, because they can say, well, yeah, you can say, this guy is now connecting. You're talking about livelihoods. If I'm a farmer and I'm struggling to get my produce, but now I can get it, I'm going to be appreciative of that. So that directly affects my livelihood because my livelihood is farming.
Right.
So these are practical things. But somebody who wants to knock the guy off his throne, as it were, by voting him out, what can you promise that's going to be different and that's going to be better? That's the challenge for them.
Yeah, so that is what it is.
And even during the State of the Nation's address, the president did mention that they're putting in $1 billion to ensure that electricity is stable. Because one of the concerns that many people had was the fact that, okay, you're electrifying all these villages, 90% electricity coverage, but how about reliability and sustainability and accessibility as well? And I think that is the reason why the president mentioned that in his State of the Nation's address, that they're going to pump in $1 billion to ensure that electricity is stable.
And I think one of the things we also have to agree on or accept is that also you're talking about stability, and also we're going towards green energy. So they're going to be building more solar plants to provide the thing, and that means you're not reliant on fossil fuels, which Julia's favorite subject is climate change. One of her favorite subjects. And so, you know, these are things, you know, the fewer fossil fuels that we use, the lower our carbon footprint will be. It's already low compared to obviously the bigger sort of industrial nations. But if we want to industrialize, we have to be careful that we don't industrialize by using carbon fuels as part of that process. Otherwise, we then become, you know, contributors to that.
Yes.
So, as I said, Julde is our
yes, let's still move on. I mean, demand for Sirif Division to provide legal basis for demolishing properties of its members. Justice for all. Okay, for all demands. 70 properties demolished in Banyaka, Kunkujang, Mariama, and Sinchang.
Allegedly, these were built when and where they should not have been built. And now they're saying that, well, what is the legal basis for the demolition of these properties? Because we saw this during the time when they had Operation Clear the Road. You had people challenging, saying, I've got my piece of paper from physical planning saying I could build here. And then the people who were going around demolishing were saying, well, according to the law, you categorically cannot build within a certain number of meters from an existing road. So even if you got it from physical planning, you probably bribed to get it. And, you know, you can't legalize something that is illegal. And so it will be interesting. They've now thrown down the challenge and said, we want to see the legal basis for these demolitions, and hopefully there is a legal basis for it.
You know, at the end of time, Julde, I mean, Operation Clearing the Road, you know, they have demolished other structures. I mean, but at the end of time, you won't see any development that comes with that.
Well, not even the road that you're now driving on? Are you serious?
Well, it's a bit different.
My guy.
I'm talking about other areas, not the main road. You know, there are things that, you know, obviously you'll be like, okay.
They wanted to widen the roads, and that was part of the thing. I live on one of those roads where they demolish properties now, and that road, that Bertil Harding Highway.
No, that's a different case.
It's different from the Operation Clear the Road.
It's different from the Abuko clearing.
Okay,
that is by the police, the operation that they had.
Yes. So you're talking about the fact that, okay, they cleared these people and then they didn't. But for some of them, as they said to them at the time, you know, you're operating something where there's a market. There's a market that's not being used because you realize that to get the traffic of people, not vehicle traffic, you need to be on the road. But if I want to come and buy tomatoes and I can't buy on the road, the only place is in the market, I will go in the market and buy my tomatoes. But if the markets are empty, we have several of them. We've done stories on them, where the markets are completely empty and people are selling on the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case of Basse, URR. I mean, they've built them a standard market. But the women refuse to go inside the market because they believe customers are always outside. So,
but like I said, if the customer has no option but to go inside, they will go inside.
Of course.
So it's a kind of catch-22. Like, you know,
that should be the work of the area council to clear the.
But so when they clear these people in this kind of operation, clear the road, a lot of it is to do with that, because all the time you hear people saying in this country, oh, you didn't find them an alternative. We even had it with the ganja farmers of Jinak. People saying, oh, you didn't give them an alternative and you've come and destroyed their farms. It's like, my guy, it's not government's job to find you an alternative to growing ganja.
And even the land policy is here to address the issue of this illegal settlements in the country, because according to the minister, he said that there are a lot of irregularities happening as far as the land, you know, use in the country is concerned. So they need to really address that. And the policy tools are already there, so it's just the enforcement bit, because we always mention as a country that we have a lot of these policy tools, the regulations, but enforcement has always been a problem. Hopefully this is one of the enforcements that they have started with. I think it's really important to address the issue of land in this country, because people just settle anyhow. You get a land for residential purpose, and then before you know it, you see them constructing buildings for commercial purpose. You know, and once you have a document that states that it is for residential, it's purposely for residential. you know, it's not for commercial. But I think there needs to be a lot of sensitization as far as...
We have
Yeah.
a lot of laws, Julia, you're right, in this country that they look really nice on paper.
Right.
And if somebody came from Mars and didn't look at our enforcement, they just read our laws, they're like, wow, this must be one of the best governed countries on the planet. And yet we know it's not. Let's go back 5 years ago when temporarily they shut some petrol stations because they said they were built too close to you know, residential properties. All of those are now open and operating. So what was the point? The law says they should not be built within a certain amount of meters of residential properties. And yet they are.
Yeah.
They were closed down for about a couple of weeks. And now they're all, you know, so what happened? They were not broken down, they were not closed down. It was just photo opportunity. Make a lot of noise and so on. And you're right, the minister did say that, you know, now you're going to get... This country is small. To demarcate it using computer it's not difficult. It's easy. We should be able to. And so if you see this land on the map, you know that that is your land. There's no dispute, there's no argument about it. You know, but we kind of act as if it's rocket science, as if it's the most difficult thing in the world. It's not. But, you know, hopefully it will bring sanity, but the only way it can bring sanity is if it is enforced.
Yes. So Alcalo of Berending kidnapped in Gunjur before presidential visit, rescued by police.
It's an odd one, this one.
How can...
Kidnapped by whom and why?
Why?
Gunjur.
Yeah.
And why is it linked to before
the president's visit? Was he going to insult the president or cause a disturbance or whatever? You know, I don't get why it's linked to that. I mean, Julia's laughing, but I found it equally funny when I read. I'm like, linked to before president's visit. It's like. And why? I think this one we definitely need to dig into this. And before we go too far, just to say that if anybody's interested, the PIU shooter case judgment is going to be delivered today at 10 o'clock at the High Court in Banjo.
About the
PIU shooter.
PIU shooting.
Oh,
yeah.
Today.
Bojang. The judgment is going to be delivered today. We're there.
Oh, wow.
So we'll find out whether, and doubtless that will hog the headlines tomorrow, depending on what the verdict is. So it'll be.
Why am I having some goosebumps?
Yeah,
already?
it's kind of because it's gone on for a while now, and there've been kind of twists and turns in the case. One minute you think, oh, they don't have a case. The next minute you think.
There was a time there are a lot of evidences that were put forward. I mean, you know, I mean, a lot of confusion too, Mr. Adedrame. But I hope the best thing will happen.
Whatever we want is justice. You don't want somebody
justice either for the PIU that died or the
yes, because you don't want somebody sentenced for a crime they haven't done. But if they are responsible, then obviously they should be sentenced. But then if he is let off, it then means that the shooter is still at large. Those people didn't shoot themselves. Somebody shot them. And so, you know, and why? I mean, there were lots of nonsense about why they were shot, linking it to sort of, you know, political things that sort of didn't make sense, really. But,
so we move on?
Yeah, please,
Do you have anything?
Talinding North Councillor opens community clinic to improve access to healthcare.
Oh.
Yeah, that was over the weekend. Was it on Friday? Yes.
Yeah, yes.
No, on Thursday.
Thursday. Day before. Yeah.
He opened a clinic?
Yeah.
Okay.
The councillor.
The councillor of Talinding North?
Yes.
Wow,
yes.
that's a good one. You need to know how to serve your people.
Well, this is it. And again, just to kind of slightly pick up on what Julia said earlier about we have all these laws. We have people opening schools, opening hospitals, opening clinics. Sustainability is always a problem. So, you know, we celebrate them when they open, but we always have to scratch beneath the surface and say, okay, how sustainable is it? And that has to be built in. And sometimes we don't. We've heard of schools that were open and then they don't have teachers. I remember a friend of mine saying that they built a clinic. A clinic was built in Sintet. And then they hadn't built quarters for the nurses and doctors.
Wow.
So the community raised funds to build that. You know, so, you know, there are things that we need to think beyond the initial structure. What is supporting it? God forbid 2 or 3 nurses leave because somebody offers them a job in England or Denmark or Sweden. Is there a way to replace them quickly? Things like that. And also a story that's not been done really. But Julia, you covered a thing about the dentists.
Yeah.
And I think we should mention that
We
because
should,
the
yeah.
first cohort of
9
Gambian dentists have just graduated, you know. So, you know, dental surgeons. And that's something, 9 of them.
Well, it's good that you mentioned that. You know, most of these documentaries that I watch, you see, dental service is very significant.
It is.
In the life of a human being. You know, even most of these crime scenes, at the end of the time, if they cannot recognize the individual, probably the person being born to access. So sometimes your dental records can tell who the individual is.
Many crimes have been solved that way.
Oh, yeah,
right, absolutely.
Yeah. But in the Gambia, the only time we get a dentist is when we are having a toothache or something.
Yeah.
You understand? So one needs to get a dentist.
It's true. I mean, and in Western countries, particularly, say, in America, for example, the Americans used to laugh at the British, saying the British had crooked teeth, bad teeth, and so on. America, they were obsessed with teeth. So you see people wearing braces on their teeth into their 20s, something that it's happening now in England, but you know, growing up, that was very rare, very unusual, and so they were saying, "Oh, you people, you don't care about your teeth." In America, it was an obsession, and so dentists were very highly regarded and highly prized. And so when people come to countries like Sierra Leone or they go to Gambia, and they see very few dentists, like, "What's going on with you people? Don't you have teeth problems?" So, in a kind of way, it's a good and bad thing, because it probably means that in those countries where they eat a lot of processed foods, a lot of food with sugars that can end up damaging your teeth and your gums, you probably need more dentists than here, where people, and of course people use the kind of, you know, the natural kind
which is very
good, very effective for kind of cleaning between the teeth and cleaning the teeth. So but it's good. As I said, Julia did the story, and that story is to come on the news.
Oh, nice.
And even Melville, the chairman of the Medical and Dental Council, did mention that you have all these unqualified practitioners, you know, who claim to be professionals. But according to him, the council will really come up with measures to actually address that, which I think it's good, because you've seen that, okay, this is the first time it is happening in the country to have a school which is for dentists, and then you have all these people claiming to be professionals in the field, and some of them, you know, that they have not gone out of the country. So how are they
Where
professional?
did they qualify
Exactly.
to become a professional dentist? You're right. I mean, there's a dentist that myself and other folks here use, and he trained in Nigeria and in the US, and he's very good. You know, I won't advertise his services or his name, but he's very good, and his qualifications are there on the wall for everybody to see. And I've used his services, so has Mr. Mboj, others, and he's very good. So yeah, I mean, you have all these people claiming, but you know, and as Julia says, they've never been out of the country. So where did they train and qualify as a dentist if this is the first cohort? So yeah, but it's a welcome addition.
I can remember I've got this bad tooth. I mean, for over 10 years. You know, I've been struggling with it. You know, it got a hole in the middle. But the thing is, I've not paid attention to it, although it pains sometimes. But there was a time I got a terrible pain. Like 5 years, 6 years ago, I went and uprooted the tooth.
Wow.
Since then, everything went back to normal.
It's the one pain that I cannot stand is toothache, like an extreme toothache. And I remember, and this is a true story, I once had a very, very bad abscess on my tooth, and it was so painful. I was sitting at home watching TV with my family, and they just saw me. I started walking around the sitting room, just agitated, because I didn't know what else to do. And I went out of the house and I ran, I'm not kidding, for 3 miles. It was at night. I didn't know what else to do. Our dentist, who lived just about 3 doors away from us, you know, wasn't going to be open until the morning. And I ran and ran and ran, just because I just couldn't sit and concentrate because the pain was so intense. And I've always remembered that incident. I was about 16, 17 at the time. And the pain was excruciating. It's the one pain that I've never been able to kind of, you know, bear.
So Ansumana Isonyasi is on the line from Yaoundé, Cameroon. I'm pretty sure he got a lot of fufu in Yaoundé.
If he likes fufu.
If he likes fufu.
Unless,
so we will be talking to him on the line. Good morning, Ansumana. Ansumana Esonyasi.
Good morning, Balde. Good morning, Mr. Ade, and to the viewers out there.
Well, there is one thing that you have to be careful. Cameroon Fullers doesn't play. Make sure you behave yourself. The Fullers in Cameroon are not the ones in Gambia. They move about with cutlasses and machetes, so you have to be careful.
I can tell you, I was very surprised that the driver
that is very faint.
Picked us at the airport to the hotel was Fuller. I was really surprised when he received the call and he started speaking in Fuller. I couldn't believe it.
All right, so how is the team doing there? I hope everything is going well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience. I have to say that the Gambian delegation are playing a very, very important role here. As you may be aware, the Gambia holds the title of coordinator of the least developed countries at the World Trade Organization. And this is a 41 member state group, over 1.3 billion people. And so being Gambian myself, seeing delegates from the Gambia, led by our Vice President who was here a few days ago, and the Minister of Trade, leading negotiations on behalf of 41 other countries, over 1.3 billion people. I couldn't be more proud.
So let's talk about what were the key decisions made at the conference. So the key, yeah.
Well, interestingly, Balde, I have to say that as far as decisions are concerned, until 2 a.m. rather last night, not much really have been achieved as far as the LDC group is concerned. Negotiations have been quite tense. The LDC group presented its position. They've come up with a package of 4 demands, or requests if you like, that they want the general WTO membership to support. And this includes, these are quite very contentious issues, 2 of which I would love to really highlight is the issue of graduation, but also the issue of e-commerce, which other developed and larger economies are very, very particular about, especially countries like the United States and Europe. Now, as regards to graduation, the request is that, or even the complaint, if you like, from some of these larger economies, is that there are countries within the LDC group who are, who they believe should now graduate from the LDC group as the economies are doing quite well. On the issue of e-commerce, the argument is that there are some countries within the LDC group whose economies are doing way better than even some of these advanced economies when it comes to e-commerce. So it's like you have a country like Gambia, and maybe 90% of all trade is done digitally. They believe it wouldn't be fair for Gambia to continue enjoying some of these privileges that are extended to other LDC countries. When, if you look at how well the economy is doing, it does not really fit the criteria of an LDC. And so this has been the most contentious issues. The event was scheduled to officially end yesterday morning, but until we left the center at 2 a.m., I can tell you that negotiations were still going on, and I'm sure they'll continue until this morning.
So in that case, what are the main priority areas of the Gambia as far as this conference is concerned?
So the Gambia has 2 priorities. One is domestic and the other one is regional. And the domestic one is to increase investment. And so the minister made a strong case for our country during the IFTA high-level ministerial meeting So he invited investors to come and invest in Gambia. He argued extensively, citing the Gambia's peace, the Gambia's political stability, and the welcoming nature of our people. As advantages for any investor to take advantage of. And so on the regional side, the Gambia, like I mentioned earlier, is coordinator of the LDC group. And so the Gambia champions the priorities and the development needs of the LDCs as far as trade and commerce is concerned at the WTO. So these are basically the two priority areas for the Gambia.
Yeah. So if I can just very, very quickly, I'm aware that you also haven't just attended the WTO, but you also attended an engagement where His Excellency the Vice President met with members of the Gambian community in Cameroon. And for those who didn't see the story, I wonder if you just tell our viewers about some of what went on in that meeting.
Indeed. So the Vice President, when he arrived, he asked if there was a Gambian community in Yaoundé, and as you would expect, there is a large community here, a Gambian community. I was really surprised when I met some of them. Some have been here for decades. In fact, one elderly man told me he's been here for 41 years. Whoa. And he's never visited Gambia during that time. So when the Vice President and the Minister of Trade, along with the Gambia's permanent representative at the UN, Professor Carr, met the Gambian community, they were very happy to see these officials, to interact with them and to share some of their challenges. And just to highlight briefly what some of these challenges are for them, is the issue of documentation. Most of them are without valid Gambian documents, like passports and identity cards, and also the lack of consulate here in Cameroon. As you may be aware, we do not have an embassy here, we do not have a consular representative here. So that is a major challenge for them. And there is also a large number of women and young people who want to go back home, but they do not have the means. One is the issue of financing, but also the lack of documentation. So this is also a challenge for them.
All right, so thank you very much, Ansumana Esonyasi, for talking to us. Quickly, Julde.
Yes, just finally, you did mention that the conference was supposed to end in the morning, but it took you until 2 a.m. to actually conclude. What were the main issues that were raised to actually limit the issue of consensus as far as this conference is concerned? What were the main issues that were discussed?
As I speak to you, it still hasn't concluded. So negotiations are still on. It means we're 2 days,
beyond
ahead of the scheduled time for the conclusion of the conference. Quite interesting. This is unprecedented, as it has never happened. The main issue, as I mentioned earlier, is the issue of graduation for some of the LDC member countries, and also the issue of e-commerce. Some of these bigger economies are very, very particular about some LDC members enjoying privileges as by virtue of their LDC membership, when their economies, they believe, should now graduate from the LDC group. These are the two main issues.
Thank you very much, Ansumana Esonyasi.
You're welcome.
Ansumana Esonyasi there
in
with
Yaoundé,
our
Cameroon,
cameraman Mohamed Faye in Cameroon.
In Cameroon, Yaoundé. And one of the things we didn't get to discuss was he said that we've always believed that Gambian drivers are crazy. He said when you get to Cameroon, he said he won't say that anymore.
Ansumana Esonyasi.
I don't believe it. I have to go there myself.
Someone is mentioning Ansumana's hotel where he lived. It's like he lived at the Alcalo's home. He went to the Alcalo's home for lodging.
Well, just to pick up on the point that Julde wanted clarification on, if you are ranked as a least developed country, there are certain trade benefits that come with that ranking. And so you get those benefits. But if you graduate to beyond that, to kind of, I don't know, middle income or whatever, you come out of that group and you lose those benefits. And some countries don't want to graduate out of it. But the Gambia, if we look at it, just because we now conduct a lot of things digitally, we know that there are still challenges, really. And maybe that's why the Gambian delegation are fighting to say, no, let's stay within the least developed countries bracket for the moment, because of this and that. And then why, you know, and we also heard Esso talk about, and he did a story on the minister pitching to people who were there. And that I particularly liked. Don't go to these conferences and just listen and talk about the subject. Sell your country as an investment destination. And I was glad to hear that the minister took the opportunity to do exactly that. And he told people there are lots of areas, lots of sectors that could do with investment. We have a good investment climate. Come and invest in the Gambia. So I was really pleased about that.
True.
And the noise in Cameroon, I mean, a lot of noise.
No, he's outside. There's a lot of traffic you can see behind him. So it's because of where he was.
It's really
It's
noisy.
like if you stand in, you know, I don't know, what's the place?
At Westfield.
Westfield. I
Westfield.
was thinking of Westfield, and you do a broadcast from there. It will be noisy. So of course, it's not just I'm sure there are lots of. It's a big country, and there are lots of.
I mean, it should be a concern for the fact that China still considers itself as a less developed country. You
which
know,
is a joke.
Exactly.
Really. Yeah.
It's still, because even at COP30, the issue was raised for the fact that countries like China still consider like
and they should not
themselves
be.
as less developed countries.
I mean, it's one of the most advanced countries.
Well, I think it's a matter of not focusing on what people will say about you. They are focusing more on working, and that's developing China, you know. And once you know the Chinese history, you will definitely know they've come from far.
But China can apply to come out of that grouping. Nobody's forcing them to be in it, and they shouldn't be in it.
Maybe they want to remain there.
That's the point we're making.
They just want to
they want to be there,
because, you know,
but they shouldn't be.
I don't think
Gambia,
it makes sense
China,
to talk. I don't think it makes sense, you know, to talk about where you are. It's important to work. It will manifest itself when the seed grows.
The reason it's important is the very fact we're saying here is that if you remain within that bracket in terms of World Trade Organization terms, there are certain benefits that you get from being ranked as a least developed country. China and Gambia should not be on the same level trade-wise in WTO terms, really, because we're not. And really, we shouldn't be in the same room, as it were.
Exactly, we are not having the same realities, the same challenges. Climate issues.
I mean, you've
and
been
all
to China. You've been to China. Have you been?
Not yet.
Oh. Sorry.
Been to Turkey.
You've been to Turkey 100 times, and you'll probably be going again.
Probably I'll be going to China.
Yeah, you should.
Inshallah. But you know, Julda and others, when they came back, they were very impressed with by what they saw, and you know, for people like myself, you know, my generation, we've seen how China has grown over 50, 60, 70 years, and no country on earth has ever grown to that extent from where they were then to where they are now in the way that China has done. It is an example for the world. You know, not just Asia, for the world. That growth over that space and that span of time, unprecedented in human history. It's quite remarkable what they've achieved. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll still move on to, I know we'll be ending the program by 10.
Okay.
But we'll still take a look at some of the stories.
Do you want to talk about the football match?
Let's talk about the game.
I know GFF have disappointed us, but let me be fair to them. Apparently they have an important meeting this morning, which is why some of their officials were not able to be here. But I said earlier in the show that a lot of our colleagues have gone for the match. The Scorpions, the national team, is still sponsored by QCell, and so some QCell folks have gone as well. People from Q Radio, people from QTV have gone as spectators, I have to say. And of course everybody will be trying to find out where they can watch the match. They can watch it on Senegalese TV, as far as I am aware, as I sit here. You know, I think we were trying to see whether we could get it for QTV, but I don't think that's been possible. But all eyes will be on it, albeit it's a friendly. And when I was coming to work this morning, myself and Musa from IT, we were discussing it, and he was saying, like, you know, why are all these people going? I said, well, just think about it. If you're a Gambian fan, you have not seen your national team in the flesh since the stadium was closed. This is the next best thing. They're playing next door. Take a short trip and go. So some people are actually taking a whole week. So they're making a kind of excursion of it. They're not just going for the match, they're going before the match. Some went yesterday, some went on Saturday night. And so they're there taking the whole ambiance. You could buy your tickets online, that's been bought. I think it's sold out as I speak. But don't take my word for it, go on, there's a site which people can find. Unfortunately, I don't have it to me, but I remember our colleague Buba Fati was trying to buy seats in the kind of middle section where you sort of see the pitch. So the pitch is there, and then there's a section here, there's a section there. Then you had the goalpost end, and they wanted this middle section. And in real time, you could just see the seats being sold. All the ones they wanted were going very, very quickly. And for a period, people who were putting in Gambian numbers were not able to get through, you know, for them to get back to you. So eventually they corrected that so people could get through using a Gambian number, and people were able to. And so eventually, because there were 4 of them and they wanted to sit together, obviously the 4 of them who were going boo and so on. I just mentioned that in terms of, you know, how things were in terms of, so it's proved quite popular, obviously within the Senegalese community as well. The Senegambia derby, how many times do we play them? You know, we're hardly ever drawn with them in the same World Cup or AFCON groups. So we don't really get to play them.
I hope and pray, because Gambia and Senegal, we have this history. After every match we fight. You understand? So I hope it will not be. Not every match. It will not happen this time.
Sibling rivalry. It's there. They are, even though they've been stripped of the title, they are, as we speak, African champions pending their appeal. And so they're at a different level right now to us. Also, they became last year I think it was, first African team to beat England ever. England had never lost to an African team until they lost to Senegal. And they've
beaten France as well. France
2002 World Cup. Famously beat France, and they've been drawn against France at this year's World Cup. So that should make it quite interesting. But also they played a friendly on Thursday or Friday,
with,
Peru.
Peru,
and they beat Peru 2-0. So they're on form.
So the Senegalese contingent is telling you this is going to be like Cameroon, Morocco, Senegal, Morocco to them. They will not let this thing slide. I had their fans talking about it, very prominent people. So they are not taking this game lightly.
Look, this game against Senegal is never taken lightly by either side. Yes, they are current African champions, as I said, pending this decision by CAF, but Gambia's got a decent team right now, and we know in football shocks can happen. You know, 1990 World Cup, first game of the 1990 World Cup, Argentina, Maradona, Canija, all these people. Cameroon beat them in the opening game of that 1990 World Cup. So football can throw up, and that's one of the reasons why people love football, because they can be these surprise results. Who expected Cabo Verde to qualify for this World Cup? They've done so. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game, and I know guys were saying they're going to kill us. They might be surprised. It might end up, after all the noise, being 0-0.
So what will happen to Senegal? I mean, if their appeal is not considered by CAF?
No, it's being considered. You mean if it's rejected? It's being considered. And CAF, as opposed to CAS, they've appealed to CAS. And just yesterday, the chairman of CAF, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, said whatever the CAS decision is, they will respect it. He says if CAS finds on behalf of Senegal and says they should retain the trophy, they will retain it. If they find that it should be going to Morocco, then he said, and he hopes the fact that Senegal have taken it that far, they will also respect whatever decision CAS takes. So we wait and see.
I read the Secretary General resigns.
Of?
CAF? Was it the Secretary General?
I'm not sure.
I
Maybe.
read that online.
Okay, right. Okay. I don't know whether they resigned over that. But oh yes, somebody did resign over this thing, because they Senegalese person, I think, because they thought this was a shameful decision. But it's a difficult one. I mean, we've never been here before, but then I'm not sure a team has ever behaved like that in a final, you know, walked up for 17 minutes and then come back. And,
Well,
Yeah.
I think it happened between...
The CAF Secretary General.
yeah.
It happened between
resigned.
Guinea and Morocco.
No, in a final, I
In
said.
a final.
No,
Yeah.
not in a final.
In a final.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is
Yeah,
what it is. Well, I will draw the curtain here.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Adedrame.
And, you know, hopefully on Wednesday
Thank
we'll be
you.
reporting a Gambian victory. against-
Nobody knows, probably.
Yeah,
you know,
hopefully.
nobody knows.
We can dream.
Yeah. All right. So this is all we have for today. We'll be back here again tomorrow for another edition of QTV This Morning. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.